With coordinated disclosure and working with the vendor, when you have upcoming talk, I always give a heads up to the vendor, being Microsoft, that I'm actually planning to present at a conference, and this is my research. Now, I'll even share the slides, because maybe they have a bit more context that I can add to my talk, which will actually make it better. So I always wait for the okay from them. I give them the timelines, I explain the research, I explain them the angle, and I even provide the content that I'm going to present. And yeah, you'd be surprised what feedback that Microsoft might give you, and that might even make your talk even better. So I always recommend to follow that process, and you'd be surprised how much better that can make your presentation and how much more welcoming. And you don't even have to stress that maybe your presentation might be interpreted in the wrong way. So I highly recommend to follow that process.
Coordinated vulnerability disclosure has actually always been very important to me to this day. And I will never disclose anything that is not fixed. And the reason for that is, I get it, bug bounties can have high emotions, especially when your work isn't heard properly. But if I found a vulnerability and I knew it was valid and that could affect other customers, I would never disclose it. I would just escalate it through other internal means if I had to. And this was back when I was a researcher. So to me, CVD has always been extremely important. I think when it comes down to wanting to disclose something that is still in the works of being fixed, one of the most important things is email us, let MSRC know that this is something you are planning to do. And then we will have discussions about this, or send us the slides, let us know what you're planning to talk about. And one of the best parts about MSRC is we will coordinate with you, if you want to do a blog post or if you want to disclose something. And we will work with you closely to make sure that, what you're writing is not just also amazing, but also very, very accurate. So yeah, just send us an email when you ever want to disclose something, and we will work with you very, very closely to help you achieve this.
So as far as coordinated vulnerability disclosure goes, I had a case that had a lot of depth, I'll say, to it. And it took a while. And when I wanted to disclose that and talk and write about it, again, it was reaching out to MSRC, working with, my case manager and other folks that I ended up talking to, just to get on the same page, right? There, you may be asked, for examples of the material you're looking to publish and details about what you're looking to talk about. And I think it's important, right, if there's time frames after things have been resolved to, stick to before you can talk about things to make sure you have, passed that window. It sounds almost repetitive, but in reaching out to MSRC and working, with your case manager, and I think just communication, right, is key. Again, to a case that I had that was rather complex, right? I didn't even really know all the depth on the Microsoft side that was going on to resolve that, right? So you may have a perspective where you think it's simple, but you may not know what is going on behind the scenes to resolve that. And especially for myself dealing with the cloud, right? There's a lot of interdependencies in a lot of different groups and teams in Microsoft that may need to work together to resolve things. So I know it can be hard to be patient. But yeah, I think patience and communication really are just key.
So normally how I abide by disclosure policy is to really understand it by reading through it and also asking questions if there's any gray area. But when I do my research, for me, because I'm mainly doing products on-prem, I do all my testing on my own machine. But if I was to do more cloud testing or black box testing, I always make sure that I follow the guidelines that Microsoft provide in their documentation. And when I do the testing, I make sure that I'm not hitting anything I'm not meant to. I also always double check to make sure that I follow those guidelines. I highly recommend to follow that process.